Welcome on into Sports Memo Today, a Thursday edition, which you know it means. It's a football Thursday here. I'm your host, Dan Alexander. And man, am I pumped because we got the usual Thursday crew. I guess maybe I should call it the unusual now. But I'm happy to say that we're going to have Matt Josephs back on. We're going to have Eric Pauly back on. It's been a while since I had my two guys back on the show, so I'm excited about it. And you should be excited because you can save 31% off anyone's all access. You can use it once at Wager Talk. You can use it once at Sports Memo. That's using code BOO31. I'll tell you more about that a little later because let's get right into it. And welcome back, resoundingly, my guy, Matt Josephs. You know him as Mid-Major Matt on Twitter, and I love seeing that Phillies red. All I'm saying is since we have been doing shows, Matt, we talked about the Eagles being undefeated, but Wager Talk and Sports Memo, you know, they've been around about 7-ish years. Never in those 7 years before you and I were on air together were the Phils in the World Series during that time. I'm just saying, Matt. That's all I'm saying.
Phillies in 6. That's all I have to say. Phillies in 6, and you just keep saying it over again, and it'll eventually happen.
Yeah, so manifest the hell out of that right there, Matt. I love it. It's great to have you back on here. How things been running since we talked? I know you're always looking at props. How's the World Series been to you as well? Or the MLB playoffs heading into the World Series. How's that been going for you as far as the K props and whatnot?
Everything's going well. The pitcher props are going really well. 16-4 so far in the postseason. Just put up my play for the first game of the World Series. You can get it at sportsmemo.com. But yeah, 16-4 in the postseason. Doing well in the NBA props. Had a 9-1 weekend in college football sides and totals last weekend. So we're seeing that well. And the NFL props, as always, for tonight's game between the Bucs and the Ravens. A real game for once on Thursday Night Football.
All right, so let's get into a game going tonight. You can grab that NFL play over at Matt Joseph's page, but let's talk NBA going tonight. It's Dallas and Brooklyn Nets, and why don't we just take Ben Simmons under points, under whatever, over fouls. That's the way to go, but you want to look on the other side, a Dallas player that you're eyeing in on a prop play tonight.
Yeah, so I've started to kind of dig a little bit more into NBA props this season because, you know, I'm a prop guy. I play DFS, so I'm like, why not put the two things together? So we've gone off to a modest start, 5-2 so far in NBA props. And the one thing that I like to do is kind of just read a lot of research about games and players and angles and things like that. And the one thing that seemingly pops out is play the centers against Brooklyn. And, well, tonight on Dallas, that center, even though he comes off the bench, it's Christian Wood. And the number seems really low. It's kind of tantalizingly low. But we're going to look at the over for the points and rebounds for one Christian Wood, who's playing about 25 to 29 minutes a game off the bench. But he's been dominating. And a lot of these games, he's almost gone over on just the points. And as you look, the legitimate centers that have gone up against Brooklyn, Jonas Valanciunas, Pascal Siakam, who I guess is somewhat of a center, at least on that roster. They've both destroyed Brooklyn so far this season. And so I'm going to go with Christian Wood here. I think even though he's coming off the bench, he's going to be highly successful. He's carved out a role, and who knows, maybe he crosses the 30-minute threshold against the Brooklyn Nets tonight. I'm looking at the over on points and rebounds for Christian Wood of the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, and I know it's a small sample size, but as Matt alluded to, the guy's scoring around 24 points per game, over 8 rebounds. So kind of one of these numbers that Matt loves diving deep and saying, what the hell were they doing pricing it this way? They're not going to win all the time, but over 26.5 points and rebounds. That's one that's going on my card for tonight as well. Let's swing on over to NFL because if people are fans of the Prop It Up show, they know you have your own graphic letting people know you're the kicker guru. If you want kicker props, Matt Josephs is the guy to go to, and you're going over the pond. So no boundaries known for your kicker guru prowess. What are we looking at on Sunday morning?
Yeah, and certainly Denver's a team I like to kind of take advantage of in a bunch of different ways. When Denver's home, I like looking at the longest field goal made because Brandon McManus has a cannon. And when you go up against them, you're going to most likely settle for field goals because their defense is really good. Denver is actually second most in the league in terms of field goals allowed per game. They almost allowed 3 field goals per game this season. And as you said, they're going over the pond to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are the quote-unquote home team and who have done this every year. And they know the schedule, and They have this thing down, and we see a lot of times that first game overseas for teams. The last time Denver's played overseas was 2010. So it's been a while. A lot of the guys on this roster have not done so. So I expect a little bit of jitteriness, a little bit of struggle from the Denver Broncos here. I think Jacksonville, despite the fact their offense isn't great, can move the ball enough for Riley Patterson to get in the field goal range. Now, he's been all or nothing this season. He's had a couple of games where he's had multiple field goals. He has had a couple of games where he's had no field goals. So it's a definite bet that's going to be a all or nothing proposition. But DraftKings is giving us over 1.5 field goals at plus money. I'm going to take a shot on that against a team that, as we said, allows a ton of field goals. I'm going to hope that this is one of those multiple field goal games, but give me Riley Patterson over 1.5 field goals at plus 105 on DraftKings.
Yeah, and I think this is one of those, Matt, that's like the perfect storm. It's a defense that sometimes will play that bend, don't break, which will give up some yardage, and it's an offense that once they get down to the red zone, Doug Peterson sometimes forgets how to play call. So you have a team who can drive the ball down the field, who might sputter a little bit. Love that one as well. And you know those guys over the pond and gals over the pond, they love seeing the kickers going off. You know, it's football personified for them when they get to see kickers going through the uprights. So over the 1.5 field goals, the Jacksonville kicker, Riley Patterson, you can get that at plus 105. So, Matt, you gave him a little sample of how you dive in on some of these props. If they head on over to your page, they use that code BOO31, they can get 31% off any all-access package. What do you have going for this weekend if they want to maybe try a 3-day all-access?
Yeah, certainly. We're going to have some college football stuff. That won't go up till later tonight or maybe even tomorrow. So college football is certainly something we did really well. As I said, 9-1 on sides and totals last week and just killing it in college football. Of course, Sunday we'll have plenty of NFL props that you can pick and choose, whether they're kickers or non-kickers. NBA props, maybe not as much this weekend as we focus on football, but if I see one I like, and of course, the Phillies World Series. I mean, the Astros are going to be there as well, but it's really the Phillies World Series. We'll put some props up for that as well. You can find it all on sportsmemo.com. And as you said, prop it up tomorrow, 10 o'clock. We'll give you all sorts of information on a bunch of games in the NFL and some other sports as well. Me, Andy, and Andrew. You might want to check that out. 10 o'clock tomorrow. Prop it up.
Yeah, 30 minutes or less, you're not going to get much NFL prop information any better than you can get tomorrow morning on Wager Talk TV. Matt, a pleasure to have you back. Hopefully the next time we're talking, we have some game in hand with the Philadelphia Phillies. Maybe if all goes right, the series is over by then. We'll see. Phillies in 6, Matt. Phillies in 6. Let's personify that, man.
Yep,
He's
Phillies
Matt Josephs. You can. Yeah, Phillies in 6 indeed. He's Matt Josephs. Again, you can head on over to sm.buzz/MJ. Grab his all-day access. And I mentioned you can do it on a 3-day all-access. That's going to save you around $18 if you use code BOO31. If you go 30-day all-access and you can get through the World Series with Matt, you can get his college football props through the end of the end of the season as it's heading towards the playoffs here. You can get his NFL props, NBA props. You get $90 off. You do 30-day all access or commit to a year. Get rid of your commitment issues and go to a year all access. Save over $600. That deal good for our man Matt Josephs. It's also good for our next guest coming up here, Eric Pauly, making his resounding return here to Sports Memo Today. EP, good to see that smiling face, man. How you been, brother?
Been doing well. Like we were talking before, kind of same thing, different day. Been working a little bit on the NBA capping. Of course, MLB, we've had this break for the World Series. I don't know why they waited to start until tomorrow, but I know that probably affects you more than it affects me. Been killing it in football and looking forward to another big weekend.
Yeah, this week has been absolutely excruciating. Why couldn't it have lined up with the fact that tonight starts a 27-day stretch of football every single day? That's right, Maction is back. So, of course, it couldn't coincide with that. This week has just dragged on, but the payoff was getting to be with EP and MJ today on Sports Memo Today. Let's talk a little NFL action here, EP. And this New England team, man, they just got rolled by the Bears. I mean, people love the Bears and love the Pats and teasers and straight up and, putting them in money line parlays, and they just screwed everybody. Meanwhile, the Jets, man, their fans are already buying hotel rooms in Arizona for the Super Bowl. So this is two teams coming in with different expectations than maybe people had expected. New England, the 2.5-point favorite. How are you betting this one?
Yeah, so this is a bet that I actually put up for clients on Tuesday, and I was able to get New England minus 1.5, 3% play. So this is something I do feel very strongly about.
Mm.
Looking back to last Monday, I mean, the Patriots, of course, got steamrolled, to say, by the Chicago Bears, but that was a game that they were honestly even never in at any point. But I kind of think that's a throwaway game. I mean, in the National Football League, of course, you got your undefeated Eagles and the Buffalo Bills and Kansas City Chiefs looking like juggernauts. But this is a league where any team can beat any team on any given Sunday. So got to give the Chicago Bears credit where it's due there. But I think this gives a very nice buy low spot for New England. Now, looking in terms of total DVOA, the Jets actually rank higher than New England. They're 11th, while the Patriots are 16th. But I think a lot of that is very skewed. And being a New Yorker, I have a lot of friends that are Jets fans that hate me whenever I go against the New York Jets. But I think that this is really a mismatch. This number should be a little bit higher, and I have New England winning this football game. To me, it's really just a coaching mismatch. Mike LaFleur, the OC for the New York Jets, is horrible on third down. Zach Wilson, their quarterback, the New York Jets do absolutely everything in their power to ensure that he does not lose them football games. He throws for under 150 yards in his last 3 games, and their top weapon, Breece Hall, is out for the season. Very unfortunate, as well as their top interior offensive lineman, Vera Tucker. He's also gone for the season. Those are 2 irreplaceable losses for New York. I think, given the coaching consideration, again, Mike LaFleur is not going to be able to out-scheme Bill Belichick in this matchup. Yes, Mac Jones showed some issues last week, and the Patriots as a team had some issues last week against the Bears, but this is a bounce-back spot. Belichick still tied for second in all-time wins. He gets it on the road in New York this weekend, and he also does it while covering a 2.5-point spread.
Yeah, Bill Belichick off of a loss is one thing. Bill Belichick off of a Monday Night Football loss to the Bears is another thing. And they've been the older brother to the New York Jets for a while here. Maybe he gives them one more noogie for good measure. Laying the 2.5 here is our guy, Eric Pauly, as the New England Patriots are facing off against the divisional foe in the Jets. Let's swing it on over to a team in Detroit that last week I loved the spot that they had with Dallas coming off the bye, Detroit coming off the bye, being well rested, getting 7.5, and it was looking great until a sketchy interception, and then the sky started falling for the Lions. I was like, getting ready to cash my ticket. I was all excited, and they just can't get out of their own way, it seems like. Now they get to face Miami. It does Detroit with Tua in his second week back. I don't know, just Tua, step forward again and get a little bit more polished, or are you looking towards the dog in this one? The line floating around 3.5.
I am looking toward the dog in this game. We have a head coaching matchup of 2 of the worst head coaches in the National Football League. Matt Campbell, of course, got all the hype from the Hard Knocks. I'm sure he's a great guy. I'm sure he's fun, a guy to pound a beer or 2 with. In terms of the X's and O's, he's not great. On the other end, Mike McDaniel was touted an offensive genius, and his offense does not score points. So I'm very curious as to why he has that title, because he's yet to show it. This is a great spot for Detroit. Miami, they're a good football team. They're not a great football team. The Lions, of course, are one of the worst teams in the league in record-wise and also just simply in performance. But this is a great spot for Detroit to bounce back. Like I just mentioned, these 2 coaches are 2 coaches that, none of them has an edge in that situation there. But I think where Detroit really has an edge in this game is on their offensive line going against Miami's defensive line. Now, while they're 7th in the NFL in rushing DVOA, so they're good at stopping the run, but DeAndre Swift should be back in that Detroit lineup. The Miami Dolphins are 29th in the National Football League in pressure rate on opposing quarterbacks. Jared Goff is one of those guys that if you can clear out that pocket, basically give him a nice place to hang out, sit for a while, drink a cup of coffee, and then throw the football, he'll be successful. When you have Dallas Cowboys, Micah Parsons coming at him at all angles, that's when the errors, the issues, the turnovers are going to come. So I don't think that Miami is going to be able to pressure Jared Goff and make him uncomfortable enough to have him force some of those critical issues that he is prone to throughout the course of his career. Going back to Miami's offense, yes, they have 2 of the top 5 leaders in receptions in the NFL. They have 3 of the fastest players in the NFL, of course, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Raheem Mostert, but they still don't score points. they could definitely pose a problem to Detroit's secondary because of how fast they are playing on that turf inside at Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan. And I'm not saying the Lions are going to win this football game, because knowing how Detroit football goes, they're going to let up a last-second field goal to lose. However, you get 3.5 points. You're not even buying that half point. That half point is present at most sportsbooks I'm looking at now. You're going to cover that 3. I love the home underdog in this weekend. I think the Detroit Lions cover that 3.5. I'm flirting with it to be a client play. I'm certainly leaning in that direction. The Patriots was a client play. I got that 1.5, which is great. Looking to add to that this season, and the angle I'm looking at is on the Detroit Lions this weekend.
Yeah, and Miami as a favorite this season, just 1-2 against the number, and the one game that they were favored on the road. Now, devil's advocate point, it was the game where they had to end up going to their third string quarterback, but they failed to cover by 26 points. They lost that game outright, 23 points to the New York Jets, 0-1 as a road favorite. However, that was without Tua. But now they're facing a Detroit team who might be looking at Campbell a little bit sideways. So we'll see. Can Campbell kind of get that monkey off his back, so to speak? Plus 3.5. That's the way EP is looking in this one. Eric, you got Full Count coming up in about 9 minutes. Tell people about that. Let them know what they can find at your page once they use that code BOO31 to take 31% off any all-access package.
Yes, sir. So we got the MLB Full Count show. Myself, Dan Kaiser, Jeff Michaels. I'm going to be touting hard the Philadelphia Phillies to win the World Series. I am a big believer that they are going to pull it off. They have the makings of a World Series team. They remind me of that 2019 Nationals team, and I'm very excited to see the Astros have another blemish on that record. Of course, they've been making the World Series, but I think they're going to be 1-4 if they lose this one in their last appearances. Maybe 1-3, which is not very great. But on the premium side, I have my all access up already. One of the plays, like I just mentioned, the Patriots with that 1.5. So another great reason to get that all access is because you would have gotten that 1.5. And if you wouldn't buy it now, you're seeing that 2.5. So I would certainly recommend, for not just myself, but every SportsMemo and Wager Talk capper, hop on all access. And I also have another play loaded up there. I am, again, flirting with a couple other plays that I do like. I'm waiting to see kind of how the lines finalize. But being this late in the NFL season, we're already getting these lines more or less ironed into shape by around yesterday going forward. So very exciting stuff. Very excited to talk baseball, and I'm rooting for the Phillies, but for you, Dan.
I love it. I love to hear it. I am surprised that your mic worked that entire time, because our producer, of course, repping H-Town, my guy Robert and I going to head all week long. So, EP, appreciate you. Make sure you check him out on Full Count going later today. It's coming in just about 8 minutes on SportsMemo TV. Over at Wager Talk TV, stay tuned. We got the Happy Hour college football show coming up, hosted by Drew Martin. I'll part with this, and Robert, I'm sorry, I have to throw it out there at least. We had to wait all week long to have two people who at least said the Phillies. Now, one of them was a homer in mid-major, Matt, but EP, he knows his baseball. Check his record. He did just fine on the diamond this year for SportsMemo. They're both saying Phils, and I will leave you with this statistic. There have been 4 teams recently that have entered the World Series undefeated in the postseason. You had the Royals in 2014, the Rockies in 2007, 1990s A's, and the 1988 A's. All of them entered undefeated into the World Series, much like the Houston Astros. All 4 of them lost. So there we go. I'm saying there's a chance. If you enjoyed the show, hop below. Let us know what you're betting on in the World Series for this championship series. Let us know what you're betting tonight in the NFL, what NBA props you have going. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, and we will see you Tuesday here on SportsMemo Today.